hats off to entrepreneurs. You bring value to our community by creating jobs and building wealth. Aspire Enterprise of Florida is your premier one-stop resource for strategic business coaching, business trainings, and business services. Our elite team of business professionals have over 30 years of expertise to serve small business owners, not-for-profit organizations, and individuals. Aspire Enterprise, where your needs are our priority.
Hi, good evening, Palm Bay, and welcome to another edition of Palm Bay Live. With me tonight, we have Mr. Alfred Agarie, who is running for the position of mayor of the city of Palm Bay. And welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. And so we have, set up a nice setup of a slew of questions ready prepared. This is going to be our first mayoral interview, candidate interview that we're going to be doing. We have another one set up for next week as well with Mr. Alan Brokowski. And then following that, we have Mr. Rob Benina and Ms. Kayla Maraj. And so that's going to be done. In between there, we're going to be having the C2 debates going to be coming up on the 23rd of this month. The 23rd of this month is going to be the C2 debates right here on the show. So that's pretty much what is going to happen. So yeah, so look forward to that. So yeah, tonight we are ready, and Mr. Agarie, and welcome to the program. And the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself to the public. Tell them about you, your background, and why you're running to become mayor of Palm Bay.
Yes, sir. Good night to everyone. Good night to the audience, Mr. Kevin. I am Alfred Agarie. I was born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica. I came to this city in 1985, and ever since we've been, been a successful business person in this city. I met my beautiful wife, and we've been married for like 40 years. Real comfortable and peaceful marriage. And we got 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. And we are all living in this city with 13 grandchildren. So I'm pretty much grounded in this city, and we have a strong foundation. And I am the type of person who try to help and, protect the community over the years. And I try to help every time. So I think I would make a move and try to make a difference in this community. I've been rooted here for the past 25 years, and I would like to maintain that.
Okay. All right, great. Mr. Agarie, let's start out with some slew of questions for you. The first one is going to be talking about your campaign platform. On your campaign platform, you mentioned your vision statement is that you will use your valuable experience to achieve realistic goals. Can you talk about your experience? What are the realistic goals that you will achieve as a mayor? Can you talk about the direction of your campaign and the issues that are important to you in that regards?
Well, the experience I got is basically I've been a 25-year successful business person in 2 different businesses, gas station, garage, and a trucking service. And I manage and direct these businesses in a successful way. And I thought I would express that experience in the city. There are many aspects in the city need to be addressed, like the roads need to be addressed, the parks need to be addressed, the city budget where we have to get some more fire trucks for the city. The police need the body cams for a while. We had built quite a few buildings in this city that is like 4 or 5 floor highs, make of wood structure, and they need a good ladder truck, because if we got a fire in one of these condition, we don't have a ladder truck that can reach this building. The Bayfront area need to be developed, and we have a vast amount of empty land in this city that we need to develop and help to generate more revenue in this city that we can take care of a lot more other stuff.
Okay. All right. Your website says that you're a man of honesty. Okay. Um, integrity, loyalty, and someone that we can trust. So one of my questions to you is, what measures have you taken to establish trust, and how will you build upon that if you're elected?
Well, the main thing is to maintain your word. Trust is something you take you a long time to earn it, and you can lose it in an instant. You have to maintain your word and be be care about it. You have to a lot of have a lot of passion about it, and that whatever you say, you try to maintain it. And this is what I think in the city that we need to develop some trust because and work together because even our present council has been falling apart, and as a council you have to have everybody united and working together because that's why we have 5 people on it. So trust is one thing that you have to really pay attention and maintain that guideline.
Okay. So how do these values reflect your business practices?
Well, as I said before, if you're doing businesses, you got to make a principle that if you have a contract or if you have an arrangement, you fulfill the contract, you fulfill the arrangement. Efficiency is important. And as I said, the reputation is important. So you have to be, you know, trustworthy. Whatever you call, if it's a verbal contract or it's a written contract, you have to maintain that.
Okay. All right. Let's move on with your uh, electoral process. I've done some research, and records indicate that you only voted in 2014 and 2018. If you have not participated consistently, how can you expect others to also participate or engage in the electoral process?
Well, you said the records show that I only vote in
Twice,
in 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 12.
2014 and 2018.
Yeah, what about 16?
We didn't see anything there.
Oh, but I did vote in 16.
Okay.
Well, that's a big practice right there. We got a election in 16, a general election, and then we have a general election right now in 2000. So that's 4 years later. So I thought that was efficient.
Yeah. You. When did you get registered? 2006.
Yeah, I think it's about 2006 or 2008. Yeah, somewhere along that line.
That's what our records show. And so, yeah. So in contacting the Brevard Election Board, basically that's what they told us. It was 2014 and 2018 that you voted. So you may want to clarify that with them to ascertain what happened with there.
Right.
So given the events of the last 2 years, how do you plan on addressing corruption in City Hall? Talk about that for a second.
Yeah, well, as I said, the corruption is basically you got to work together. That's one thing. The second thing is you have to be, in my eyes or in my view, you got to be honest and you got to be financially stable in a sense where somebody can't bribe you or somebody cannot mislead you in any way. You have to maintain your reputation. You have to be protect your pride. And a lot of people, as I said, one of the main problem with these office that I think is financially stable, because if you don't, then it will always tempt you to walk out the line. And that's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Can you talk about your plans to promote sustainable growth in infrastructure and development for the Palm Bay area?
Well, one of the main plan I got is that Bayfront development, that Bayfront era. I've been a business person out there for about probably 22 years, and I gonna say ever since I've been there, I was told that this gonna be a developed era and it's gonna be a downtown Palm Bay, and 22 years later, it's the same. And to me, if we have a downtown, it could be a very much revenue for the city in many ways. We need some formal restaurant in the city. We need some sort of nightlife that we can maintain our citizens to spend more time, spend more money in our city. Visitor comes in, like the citizens will have visitors come by every now and then. You have to take them to Orlando or Melbourne or even West Melbourne to entertain them. And this is one of the things that we have to look in mind. The other thing I think is very important is like a community center, like the Ogali Civic Center, something like that, that we can keep an event. I am a big family person. As I said, between my kids and I and the grandkids and my mom is like 25 of us live in the city. None of us move. Everybody grounded right here, and we have a lot of events, and I think that will generate a lot of funds. These buildings, you have to rent them like a year and a half out. So that's, to me, that's a lot of revenue could come into the city. The other thing is we have a vast amount of open land. We have about, I don't know, maybe 118 square mile of land space in this city, make us the largest city with land space. But Melbourne is, I think it's 48 square mile, and they got 10 times the infrastructure that we got. So, I think we have to develop some of these property, even if we have a truck park, something to just like a warehouse storage or something, to just park trucks, something. We have to think along the line to generate funds because, as you were saying, one of our citizens was curious about lighting. If you need a light bulb, you have to go buy it, and if you're not generating funds in the budget, it's hard to maintain or develop any other thing.
Okay, and we're going to get to that question in a second. But let's go back to the downtown area, and I see some good questions popping up on the feed, so I'm going to address some of those questions here in a second as well. But let's go. What would you do differently? Because the downtown atmosphere, the downtown concept has been pivoted around for a long time. What would you do differently to make sure that Palm Bay does have a downtown at some? And where is your vision? Where would you put it?
Well, the downtown Palm Bay need to be in the Bayfront area on US 1 in the vicinity of Palm Bay Road traffic light. We have a waterfront entertainment area there. It used to call it Pelican Harbor, but it's right there by the Turkey Creek Bridge on US 1. This is a prime location for an entertaining era where you can have little boats coming for lunch or dinner or kind of a nightlife thing, and you have this era need to be set up. I was told, as I said, 15-20 years ago, that we're gonna make it like a South Florida kind of neighborhood. It was designed where they're gonna put houses and they're gonna have like a multi-use zoning that people can live and do business on the same site. That's the plan they had for this thing for, as I said, 15-20 years. And I just think that somebody need to make a move. If I'm in the city, if I get elected, I would encourage for us. The city have quite a few property out there. I would encourage to put some building there. Put the city put up a couple buildings, or just to have a good pricing. Can lease them out pretty cheap. That at least you could get encourage somebody to get in there, because first, a lot of people doesn't have a vision. They can't see too far down the street. And then what happened? they if you start an image that they can see and feel like it's doing good, then they can always add to it. But somebody need to make a start. And the pricing of the property is kind of outrageous. The city has some property right now that they are selling, that they have acquired for maybe 5 years, 4 years. They acquire these property and they just sit there and know they have it up for sale. I think they could invest in a building and lease it out pretty reasonable to people that can start the ball rolling. That's my opinion.
Okay, let me take some of the questions from the public. And I'm going to go back to Mr. Chamberlain. Or the question is, or Ms. Chamberlain, if you're elected, what would you do to lower taxes?
Well, lower the taxes is definitely where taxes is a very technical point, because right now the city probably looking forward to had a half a cent on property tax. Things like these are on sales tax, because there's a lot of things need to be get done, and lowering the taxes at certain time is very good for the citizen, but at the same time, to take care of business, it's kind of real touchy whether to lower it or not. And there are times where the property tax is something that they use, the millage generate from the value of the property. Every time the property value goes up, then the millage rate went up. Then you start paying more taxes. And it's just like in '08, the millage rate went down because nothing was moving, and then the taxes went down. So it's kind of touchy to really pinpoint a method to really lower it immediately, especially if the revenue is not there.
Okay. All right. One question, and we kind of jumping ahead, but we are going to be talking about road maintenance for a second. Where do you stand? How much money is needed in yearly to maintain our roads?
Well, the road maintenance, we got that grant for 150 million, and that 150 million gonna be finished pretty soon, and we don't have 60% of the road get done, because the road was far over the expectation, because they've been there for too long before they start working on them. So now, if you have a regular maintenance going on and anything, even your car, you will have less spending at any one time. And this is what happened to these road in the city for years. They grow bushes and weed in the road that you can hardly drive down the street. So the funding gonna get to a certain point, but that funding is not gonna be finishing these roads. So we still have to try to put some funds for the road system, that we can put new roads in the, especially in the rural part of Palm Bay, like down in that southwest side, or down in that side. It's going to be hard to get done. And then secondly, funds got to be generated that we can maintain it on a regular basis.
Okay. All right. Stick with the road for a second. Today I was contacted for the public. So I'm going to set this up so everybody can understand what is about to take place here. A private citizen contacted me and had a very touchy story about her son being killed last year in a traffic accident. So I invited her on the show to pose a question, a public safety question, and I want to take that question right now. So she's sitting in the behind in the studio. So I'm going to bring her on stream so she can pose her question. Her name is Miss Marcia. Miss Marcia, go ahead and pose your question on public safety.
Hi, Mr. Agarie, I was just wondering, is there any part of your infrastructure budget will you consider improving lighting in the many areas that need it, along with the reflectors of the sign, warding off sharp corners?
Yes, that's a very important situation. This is something need to be addressed, and we have to try our best to fix this. Down in Palm Bay there, down in Southwest area, as I said, most of the rural areas, they need signs, they need reflector, and especially the curve is something that you have to put that reflector to show you slow, the speed limit reduced, stuff like these. And they all need funding. They all need funding to goes in. I just talked to a guy out there on US one too, and they have about probably 6 or 7 people died out there by that bar on US one called the Wet Spot, and they probably have 35 accidents out there for over a few, for maybe 5 6 years, and 6 people died. And this is one of the things that I would recommend. I would recommend a turn lane right there by that place, down in Southwest, down in Bayside area. I see where the road is too wet. Somebody need to address the sprinkler system down there also, because the sprinkler system flooded the road. So there's a lot of things need to be, but what I would like, I definitely would like, if I'm in office, I want citizens to come into these council meeting and voice their opinion, voice, because a lot of time the council members sit there, they don't have a clue what's going on out in the field, and you can always come in and recommend. But I would have definitely fix lighting on some of the street, even that new highway we cut, that new Heritage Parkway. It is so dark going down that street, and a lot of citizens, a lot of female travel that Heritage Parkway. It needs some lighting, even if you put them, a far distance apart. But at least a few lights got to be there to reflect. If something wrong with you over there driving down the street, it's gonna be hard to see your hand. And I'm very sorry to know that you have a loss in your family, and it could have been caused from a road hazard, or a, not safety set up on the side of the street. And it's very important. Reflector, lighting, even that little thing they put in the middle of the lane to show you when you're, in the separation on the lane. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. That little reflector they put in the middle of the street. So all these things need to be addressed in a way that our citizen can be, have a good peace of mind. They can feel safe moving around the city, and we can have everybody feeling comfortable to live and work and play in the city.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Marcy, for coming on the program today, and have a blessed night.
You too.
Good night, ma'am.
Okay, all right, keep it moving. Let's see. Let me go take one more citizen question. Let's see. Let's see. This one is from Karen again. Would you seek grants to do more projects in the city?
Yeah, you were saying if I would try to get more grants.
Yeah, that's what the question is. Would you seek grants to do more projects in the city? That's the question from the public.
Okay, well, yes, definitely we could seek some more grant, but right now we have a big debt debit in the city right now. It's pretty big, and we want to kind of get caught up with some of these debt situation. So I would do anything to make sure we develop the city, whatever it costs. Even this building I was talking about over there by the Bayfront area. The city probably don't have a budget for that, but we could get a loan, because this is investment that's going to turn revenue. It's not like an investment that's going to sit and lingers. It's something that once it get open, business going to happen, and you're going to start getting returns. So I would definitely encourage loans or any kind of funding. And there's a lot of grant out there too. There's a lot of grant out there on the federal level, the state level, and it need to we got to put a task force in this year, because grant is out there, but it's very technical. You have to deal with it right. Even this Bayfront we're talking about, we have grant that was there, and the city actually lose the grant. They have to pay back the grant, because with penalty too. Because if you have these grants, you have to sometimes you have to match the funds, sometimes you have to use it in time, and you have to have good your calculation and what the money expenditure is and how the money spent. So you have to dedicate people to kind of control this grant. But there's a lot of grant out there that this city can utilize. So I'll definitely encourage investment.
All right, let's go back to some other questions. I think we addressed. Can you talk about your plans to promote sustainable growth in the city, in infrastructure and development? And if you're elected, how will you handle your business? I mean, are you going to divest your business? Or are you going to continue with the business? Because right now I see that you have one open contract with the city of Palm Bay, I believe. Or is there more?
No, that's the main contract. We have other contract with them, but it's just occasional use, like if they in need of something. But this contract is a fixed contract. Well, I got a lot of employees, and I got my son and so on that run this business, and they are capable to run it just like myself or even better than me. So I'm not concerned about if I get elected, I can move on and take care of that mayor position as good as any. And that's my plan. The sustainable growth in the city, as I said before, is to develop certain areas of the city to just create income. Yeah, and that's one of the main thing. If we have to put up a commercial entity, and you have to kind of venture out there, and you have to offer the investors different things, just like West Melbourne. West Melbourne is such a small city, you could hold it in your hand, and this city explode. Whatever the reason is, or whatever the procedure was, or whatever the approach was, but we are capable at doing that or better, and we just need some good negotiator out there to make sure we negotiate and offer these investors something encouraging that they can put some structure in our city.
Okay, so let me go back to your business. Um, if your business is passed on to your family, my question to you is, will they be bidding on contracts within the city boundaries? Or are they going to be still bidding on contracts under your business or your former business?
Well, if it's become a situation of conflict of interest, then that's fine too. Because that's a very small percentage of what business we do. It's not a big deal, and if it's not, we continue. But if it poses a problem where it's a conflicting issue, I don't got a problem. As I said, the city contract is a fraction of what we do every day.
So you don't see this as a pattern that basically that this could be a pattern of possible conflict of interest going forward if you allow that to happen. Because I mean, in the public's eye, they may view it as a corruption. They may view it as other things. So how would you make sure you that doesn't happen?
Well, as I said before, what I'll do, these contract, as you know, you check, you investigate it. These contract are there long, long before whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like this is a issue that we get a contract the week I've been in a mayor. This is that would be a different ball game. This is a contract that established for years, and that's to me it's beside the point. But if it become an issue, it's not a big deal to cancel that contract, because as I say, that's a small percentage of what we do every day.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's something to really ponder with your family as you go forward with your election, because I think the public
Okay.
would be will be really interested to see how you handle that. Um,
Yeah.
so you have a vision to promote better modern parks. What does that look like, and how have you outlined a proposal for this? And lastly, what improvements did you recommend when you were on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board?
Well, yeah, that's a couple of questions. But where the park is concerned, the parks, when I was on the Park and Rec board, like maybe 6 years ago, we had several meetings about that park down there by the Palm Bay Regional Park. That park was owned and operated by the Brevard County. We finally get that park transferred to the city. In that time, they bring up a good idea of making that park compatible to the Wickham Park in Melbourne.
Are you there? Your feed cut off. Okay, I think we lost Mr. Agarie. Let's see if I can get a hold of him. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, he's having some technical difficulties. Apparently, where he's located right now, it's raining, and so it's bad weather, and so it's affecting his ability to connect. The internet went out on him, so as you can see on the screen, he got frozen there for a minute. Just so you know, for those who are not probably not aware, tonight I'm going to be right after the interview. Hopefully, he gets to come back on. If not, I am trying to uh, have Brian Anderson on tonight. And I did make an announcement earlier today that Brian Anderson will be on the program tonight to talk about the Lisa Mayoral situation and a couple more hot button issues. And I'm pretty sure you guys have a lot of questions for him in that regard. So please stand by. I am right now. I'm talking to Mr. Anderson privately on the chat, and he is acknowledging that he's going to try to make every attempt to help me out so we can get him on early, and we can get this show on the road in case Mr. Agar is unable to reconnect with me. But he is definitely having some issues from what I understand. There's some bad weather where he's located. So we're trying to work on that as we speak. Um, yeah, so again, for those who may just be joining us, next week we have Mr. Allen on. I will be interviewing him. So if you have questions for him in regards to the mayor position, please send them to me, Kevin at palmbaylive.com or palmbaylive@gmail.com. And also this week, tomorrow night, I'll be interviewing two judicial candidates as well, who is running for the 18th Circuit Court. So stand by for that. That's going to be tomorrow night, same time at 8 o'clock. And then the following night, I'm supposed to be interviewing Miss Wright, who is running for C2. She's running for C2. So she'll be on Thursday night at 8 o'clock as well. Then the following week is Mr. Allen, and followed by Mr. Phil Roberto, and then followed by another judicial candidate. So that's all happening next week. And then following week on the 23rd, we'll have C2 debates. We're going to be having the candidates on for C2. They're going to be debating live here. And we have some great moderators for that program. And so watch for the announcement this week on who the moderator is going to be for that program. And all of that will be announced in due time as we move forward. So I'm standing back for Mr. Agarie to come back on the program. And so that's where we at. So I'm going to remove myself from the screen here in a second, and then we'll just stand by. We'll go back live when we have everything back to square one. Okay,
Yeah,
we're back. Yes, sir. You're back and you're live. So, everybody, he's back, and you were able to fix that internet connection, and everything is good on your end.
yeah, it's all good.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. So, let's go ahead and finish up this interview. Um, and I think we were talking about um, where do we leave off? We were talking about development. We were talking about your vision for modern parks. So, what does that look like? And have you outlined a proposal for this? And what improvements did you recommend when you were in the Parks and Recreation Board? That's where we left off.
Right. Well, the improvement that I put forward is to modernize the park. We need to upgrade um, a few of the component that the park facility has. But I guess the budget was a problem. But on that Palm Bay Regional Park, we had proposed to put, as I said, that trailer park, the RV park, and a dog park, and quite a few other infrastructure in there. And these things would bring revenue because, like Wickham Park, is a park that brings a lot of revenue in Melbourne because they have all kind of entertainment and they offer, lighting parade event. I was proposing like a grand gala when they have the light parade, and then we will have a bunch of food carts and everything down there. So when you do the parade on the street, you will end up there in the night, after you finish the light parade. So there's a few things, but it never mature. And then these are some of the things you have to do to maintain the park. At least that park would be able to pay the maintenance on it. It could pay the electric, it could pay to cut the grass because it's a very big park, so you could save money on it, but it didn't go through. But these are some of the things you got to kind of insist and pursue to make it happen.
Okay. I have a public question here. I'm not sure where you're going with this. I'm going to put it on the screen. Public records show some past contract and indebtedness issues. Can those be addressed since you have indicated financial solvency is an issue for council?
Yeah, well, you see, like public records show that there are some past contract. Well, the thing with these contract is just like I was at the meeting the other day, the last council meeting a week ago, and what had happened, they were actually passing a contract to mow the grass. And one of the question was, a few months ago, the city had bought quite a few lawnmowers and equipment, and then we're still sending out a contract. I think it was 160,000, 135,000 or something for that mowing contract. But some of the thing is we have so much employee, and we investing in new equipment, but we're still offering contract to cut the grass. So it's kind of something that will be looked into real careful to make sure that we kind of have less to pay it out. We don't have unnecessary contract. It's just like that highway that was down there by Babcock Street, that Parkway side on Babcock going up to 95. It costing another couple $1 million after we had signed a contract on it. It's still costing more money all the time, and that's one of the things that pushes that opening of the street for so long, because you have to have a proper thing set up, and once you sign that contract, then it has to go through. Sometimes you might find like some change order in a contract, especially on some of these projects, but you have to kind of monitor it closely to make sure that the city don't pay out too much money.
Okay. I'm not quite sure you answered that question the way you wanted her, but I'm going to keep it moving. I'm going to take another question. This is from Dana Valentino. He asked, why should the city operate a business that could or should be private owned business? Look at the financial burden of owning a swimming pool.
Well, you're talking about the swimming pool that over there by the BCC?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, on a level where the city owns a swimming pool, once the price is right, where you can help the community with a city-owned swimming pool that it's subsidized, where people can afford to get training, like a YMCA and these kind of organization, that you have it less costly for the young kids in the city to get the opportunity to do that. So that's one of the things that these things are good to have, but you got to measure it still. It could be more costly to maintain than just don't have it at all. So it's something I got to measure. I don't have a specific on it what it costs at this time, but having a swimming pool or having like a community center, as I told you before, is something that you make it affordable, that your citizen can enjoy the opportunity to use it.
So, do you think the city should be owning a swimming pool, and or should it be privately owned? Yes or no?
Well, the city can own it. As I said, they got to measure the cost. If it's efficient, if it's going to cost the city money far more than what expected, then privatize it, and let somebody else handle it. But at the same time, there are things that we can do to make the citizen comfortable on a cost-effective manner.
Okay. All right. I see somebody asked why not ask about to address the corruption. Yeah, we already addressed that corruption question already. So that was asked and answered. Mr. Wickens was asking that, and let's see. So yeah, let's keep it moving. To you talk about the parks. Let's talk about. You say that you will not promote and encourage investors and corporations to ultimately develop our vast areas of open land to increase our tax revenue. Okay.
Yes,
Uh,
sir.
yes. So, which particular area are you speaking about? Um, and can you tell us how you will do this and what you will do differently that has not already been done?
Well, most of the vast area we had is down there off Bombardier. That's a big area, and we're gonna have this other phase of the parkway coming on that side of town. I would try to get, as I said, investor to put in some kind of factory, like even to do a basic thing like a park, to park equipment, like one of these Walmart or one of these company, to have a parking terminal, because this is a big open space that can be done. We could put in some other buildings, like warehouses. These are some of the things that would entertain, a big year of parking and employment for the people, the citizens of Palm Bay.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to policy questions now. And before I do that, let me take one question from the public. Mr. Vitale is asking, do you think the voters should be able to vote to elect a city manager?
I think that's a very good idea. I think that's a very good idea. We just have a situation with our city manager that I don't think it was dealt with in a manner that's suitable for the citizen or in the citizen eye, because we have five council member, and when I say five council member, it's four council member and a mayor. The mayor is still a council member anyway, but we have five bodies up there, and then one individual went ahead and make a decision, and I don't think that was fairly done. When somebody voted in, you may have a long time to, deal with the case, where if they're doing good or bad, you're gonna have, somebody sitting in there for a while. But it's a good idea, like everything else. We vote for a lot of things for our benefit, and keep your fingers crossed that it works fine. So it's not a problem to vote.
Okay, let me take another question here. Um, Ms. Tony Morris asks, would you add to the city's charter or policy to do mandatory background checks and also drug testing for illegal drugs for every candidate running for council?
I would agree with that 100%, because these things are there that we have to make sure. We just have some situation a couple years ago that we have a few members of our offices that have all kind of mental illness too, and these are some of the things that it's good to check. You can't lose checking these things, because you got to be careful and make sure. As I said, one of the biggest thing is people have to be. I think in this kind of position, you have to be stable in a sense where health is concerned, um, any kind of illegal activities, and you got to be financially stable. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Um, we answered. Okay. Let's apply to that. How about a credit check?
Yeah, that's fine too.
Okay.
That's fine too. In my opinion, all these are perfectly fine, because in that way you're going to make sure, because when we are running for this office, you have to fill out a financial report, a financial statement, to show that you have you're stable. Because I don't think anybody should run for these offices unless they're stable financially. That's my opinion, sir.
All right. Uh, well, we kind of talked about this, but what is your policy for eliminating? I'm going back to this question because I don't think you answered the question the way I was looking for it. So I'm going to ask you
Okay.
again. What is your policy for eliminating patronage in the city employment? Let me ask you this way, and tell me how you would answer that.
The in the city employment, right? At the same thing, you got to be checking everybody background and make sure they are capable of doing the job that they say they can do. A lot of time we got people that say they will be doing this thing, and then it end up that they don't do it in the right manner. So you got to make sure you treat them right, and they perform the job that they were designated to do.
Okay. What will you do to eliminate red tape in the city of Palm Bay?
Red tape. You're referring to like obstacle to get permit, or to do any kind of project or something.
Yes, sir.
Well, as I said before, you have to make sure that the division, the different departments, are operating in the right way, in the right guideline, and efficient. Because a lot of time I heard complain about permitting, especially that it takes forever to get a permit. And there's a lot of time that people complain that they go to the different offices, and if five people sit in this office, they tell them five different things about the same project. And these are things that the directors and the management need to make sure everything is been done in the right manner, in the right way. Somebody just don't tell you what they feel to tell you. And this is some of the experience I got over the years being a business person in this city.
Okay. Let me go back to this. There's a question right here on the floor from Mr. Valentino. Asks, all political candidates keep looking for more revenue to spend tax dollars. Why should the city look for more income when they can't properly budget the tax dollars that they currently have? Where can we cut the budget to afford things like future road maintenance? This will cost $7 million per year of savings in order to maintain roads. Currently, we have $1 million set aside. If we can get more money, where will you cut and prioritize? What's the answer to that?
Well, it's kind of hard to make a decision on that part because I'm not in there, and it's hard to really see. As I said, management is important, and the funds. A lot of funds in the budget is spending on employment, salary, is spending on like insurance. Insurance is quite a bit of money for health insurance for workers, and there's a lot of personal spending, and there's so much spending across the board, and then everybody neglect the roads. Um, Over the years, as I said, you have to try to maintain it slowly from the beginning, that you don't end up with a big outbreak. And that's what we have today where road is concerned. And the second thing is, we keep expanding the city, expanding the land space, and the more you expand, is the more you have to maintain. And if the city generate revenue, but most of the time when you look at the budget, the money I'd spend is like spending more than what you earn. And this is in this situation, it's hard to monitor, and it's hard to take care of every section of the city if it's not budgeted right, and and control as I said, in my eyes, the city is spread out very thin, and it's costing just to patrol the city with the police cars, just to patrol the city with the fire truck, and the employee from the public works department. That must accumulate to quite a bit per year for just traveling expense.
Okay. Mr. Agarie, let me ask you something. In running for the mayor, and this is not one, but it just came to me that I need to ask you this. You're running to be a mayor of Palm Bay. Have you done any meetings with like the department heads of the various departments of the city? Have you met with like the police chief? Have you met with any of those folks to find out what's happening in the various departments? What's to get a footing as to what you can do differently or help them to improve their different departments? Have you talked to anybody?
Yes, I did. I did talk to a few directors, and I have some appointment to meet some others. But like, say for instance, the public works department. I spoke to the director over there, and they have a few projects going on. They have a fire station up there by Foundation, that's off of San Felipe and Babcock Street, that they're trying to improve a building they bought. A city bought it and tried to improve it for a fire station on that side of town. There are a few projects going, in the pipeline to get out there, but things taking a little more time than normal because of the COVID-19 we have around and stuff like that. But to me, you know, some effort is there to get some development done, and we had I think we have a new building project coming on John Conlon Boulevard too, closer to US One. That's in the pipeline, and then we have another building coming up over there by the Publix. They're gonna demolition that building over by Babcock Street and Palm Bay Road, I think. So there's a few things coming up. The fire department, as I told you before, need a fire truck, one of those ladder truck. The communication department needs some upgrade. The police department needs some upgrade, with some body cam and thing, especially with these kind of thing that going on in various city across the country. Body cam may help the police, and it may help the citizen. So these things need to be addressed, but at the same time, the revenue is one of the problem, I guess.
Okay. Let's see. Currently, the building department outsources some of their permit inspections. Are you familiar with this practice, and do you support it?
Well, I familiar with that situation. It caused from a few people leave the position, and it's just kind of hard to get. One of the main, I think, in this situation is that you gotta treat people a certain way. That's one thing. You gotta pay them a certain price, and maybe other people offer them better job or better condition or something, and they leave. But the city, back in, I think it's 07, 08, when we have the economy problem, the city had laid off quite a few building department workers, inspector, and so on and so forth, and planning, and so on. But what had happened is that things picked up some, and then now it start dying down some again because of the virus. So it's kind of a little up and down. So if they get a bunch of application in, just to be efficient, if they send some out to outside source, I think it's okay at this time, but they need to make sure that we have people on board in the city that we can take care of, the stuff accordingly.
Hmm. So, one, and this is a good question because I was going to ask something similar. So, how would you address the lack of revenue issue?
Well, as I said, the lack of revenue is an issue where we have to try to get investor in our city to invest. If not, as I said, there are a few ways that the city may able to invest also to make the first move to kind of get investor to be encouraged. We have to make some bargaining table, meet at the table to make sure we got investor comfortable to move in the city, because now, especially in these uncertain time, is something where you never can tell. We have to put out more effort to get investor, because nobody's spending much, nobody investing much, because everybody concerned about the future and the health and so on and so forth. So this is, it's kind of been a situation that you have to have people out there, um, to with that skill to offer investors things that they would like to hear. It's just like even this water supply. We have a couple investor that would want to put in housing and development, even down South Babcock Street there. And the negotiation is pretty hard on them, because they have to spend millions of dollars just to. Are you there,
Yes,
Kevin? You
yes,
here?
yes. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. You got to spend the builders and the investors have to spend millions of dollars for even getting a water supply to these development, and they think twice about it. They've been wondering, and what and the city is pretty rigid on these things. Even the regular citizen, you got to pay $4,000 or $5,000 to get a water supply down in Southwest Palm Bay.
Okay. All right, Mr. Agar, I want to ask you to wrap it up now. Can you tell the citizens of Palm Bay, why you should be elected as mayor of Palm Bay, and kind of honing on that message? I'm going to remove myself from the screen so you're able to deliver or bring home that message to them.
Well, as I said before, I am a citizen of this community for the past 35 years. I came here in 1985, and I've been here all these years. And if I've been elected, I am here to volunteer and give back to my city. I donate fill dirt to the homeless veteran organization over the years. I donate white sand to the sandbag project in this community. And if I get elected for this mayor position, I will donate my salary back to any worthy cause that the city had to deal with in a budget. I will donate my salary as a mayor to this city to make this city a better place for us all. And I love this city. I love the citizen of this city. And I will stick to that and make sure we do what is right for the city. I am Alfred Agarie, and I am running for the mayor of the city of Palm Bay, an honest voice for the people to trust. Looking forward for your support. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, sir, for joining us, and good luck on the campaign trail. We'll talk
Thank,
soon.
thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
All
Good
right.
night.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Yeah.
And please stand by. I'm going to get Mr. Anderson on the feed here, and in 1 second, please stand by for that. And thank you. Hi, good evening and welcome back. And Mr. Anderson has joined us in the studio. So I'm going to bring him on screen. And I'm pretty sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions for him. So let me bring him on the stream. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir.
How you doing?
Oh, fantastic. Getting close to my bedtime here, buddy.
Oh, I know. We kind of ran over, and that wasn't planned, but it is what it is. Technology.
Absolutely.
Sir, first of all, I had texted you earlier today, and I asked you when you come on to give me a brief update on, so the public knows on our situation with our road projects and the recent hack into our servers. Apparently, or the click to gov servers as it relates to the payment system for the water payments. So tell us where we at with those.
So Click to Gov, obviously, it's run by Central Square. Got an email not too long ago from the acting city manager, Suzanne Sherman. It looks like we're not going to be using that service anymore. We're still going through the process with the vendor on what actually happened. We're going to notify any customers that were affected about what steps they need to take to make sure their identity is protected and that nothing was used maliciously. And it looks like we're going to use an entirely new vendor. This is the second time this has happened, maybe the third. I know 2 times during my tenure this has happened. It's unacceptable. So it looks like we'll be moving to a new vendor rather quickly. That update should come either early next week or late this week.
Okay. And on our roads,
what
are you currently doing?
So obviously, you know all about this board, and not just the bag glare. So this is year 1. We approved 11, 15, 56, 18, and 23. I believe it was 2 council meetings ago. That's the final steps in year 1. Also, year 2 is getting stormwater pipes now. Units 24 and 25 should be finishing up this month, and roads should start to go in there in August. So we're really going to be moving towards year 2. One of the things with the road program, and I might have to move out of the way, but you see the board behind me, and it's kind of hard to see, but it has that estimate at $46,275,765. That's just for year 1. We talked a lot about, Kevin, you, Tom, Carmen, Ron, Glenda, all of us talked about, we thought it could be a lot less. It'll be somewhere around $30 million, $16 million below our rough estimate, and $10 million below our engineered estimate. So looking very good for the road program. I kind of caught a little bit of what Alfie was talking about, but we have talked about it a lot of times. This is enough money to cover the entire city. We're doing around about 150 miles a year. Times that by 5 brings you to 750. There's 800 miles in the city, so we'll throw a couple of, my kids are going a little crazy back here in the back, so they're probably wondering why Dad is out here talking on the computer. But that's 750 miles over the 5 years. I think there's 798. So we'll work in some other, it'll be like 161 year and 164 another year to get that extra 40 miles in there. But you can see very clearly that we're on track to do all the roads, if not some other stuff that people had talked about, and you and I had talked about, kind of sidewalks and lighting and some other stuff that the new council may have to look at. So hopefully everything stays on track. Even with COVID, you know, we were down a little bit in not getting bids to us, which I certainly wasn't happy about. I get emails from people all the time that live off of Reading and Pegeo and streets that are in the Southwest, streets that you and I had talked about needed to be first. The wisdom of council decided that wasn't their approach. And I kind of thought we'd get a bigger return on the investment if we did those bad roads first, because then the public works budget wouldn't be patching them or fixing them or doing those giant potholes that needed to be fixed right away. So we would have saved money in the long run had we did it the way we thought we should have did it.
Okay. All right. Walk me through the decision to ask Ms. Mayoral for her resignation. How did we get there? What prompted that? Can you go into details about that, if any?
So not a lot of details, obviously. I said on the dais there were some issues a couple of months back that we had handled and addressed, and I think all the council members were aware. We received several issues that were very glaring and apparent to me that I needed to do something about. The people that reached out to me said they had reached out to all the council members So I believe they did. I'm taking them at their word on that. And 80% of council thought this was the right move. I thought it was very prudent to make sure that she was put in a very difficult position. It's a very hard job. And then coming into what she came into and trying to clean up the mess that she was cleaning up, it's a very ungrateful job too. It's just work 24/7. You're on your phone till very late in the evening. The job never goes away. You're doing things on Saturday and Sunday. It's a very hard job. So I thought this was the absolute best, most appropriate way to handle it, was to address it privately, see which way she wanted to go. Had it not went that way, it probably would have went a different way. But that we agreed that was the best way. I brought that agreement in front of council. 80% of council thought that was the best way to handle it, respectfully handle it. I think you can never, you don't want to tear people down. I think everybody knows that. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, as I'm sure a lot of people have. It's never good to tear anybody down. You really should be offering a hand up and not a kick down. That's just not the way I operate. So I thought it was a good thing to do it the way I did.
Okay. I just got some late breaking news right before we went on the air with you. Somebody's basically is stating that there was a release of claim that was signed by Mr. Mayoral, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes, but now I'm understanding that she revoked it. She had 7 days and she revoked it. Is that true?
I mean, that's the email that went out to council, so I could probably guess one of the 4 people that relayed that. But that's the current situation. It doesn't really change anything in the agreement. She's allowed to do that. She's entitled to do that. Again, we could have handled it two ways. We handled it way A or way 1, whichever you like to say, and we could have handled it a different way. I just didn't think it was appropriate to handle.
So does that mean that she can now sue the city in general for anything that that's stipulated in that release of claim?
So, I mean, everybody has that option. Anybody, you can go right now and you can sue anybody. I wouldn't do anything that would put my city in jeopardy. I had the attorney with me, the advice of the attorney, and the attorneys that work for her. So I know what I did was the right thing for the city and the right thing for the person involved. So.
Okay. I guess let's see if we can take some questions. You can choose to answer or not to answer them. That's totally up to you. There was one question here from Mr. Vitali. How can you ever be trusted moving forward when you stated last week's meeting you wouldn't speak about the reason for Ms. Mayoral forced resignation, even though earlier in the day you gave different reasons to different people in private phone conversations? Not sure what you want to opine on that or not.
And that's fine if they want to put that out there. I have many phone conversations with people that I trust, that wanted some background information. I gave them as much background information as I could. And let me be very clear. There are things that happened over the past 18 months that I wasn't happy with as a council person, but that doesn't bring it to the level that the issues that I addressed in the agreement, where it came to that, because easily I could have sat back and let a new council handle the situation. I felt that it was appropriate and we needed to make this move, or I never would have made it and I would have let a new council deal with it 100%. So I don't really know the specifics of what the person is talking about, but the issues were raised, they were addressed, and they've been taken care of, and we're moving forward. So the one thing that you can count on is everything that I've said on that dais and everything that I've said here to you in this camera and I've said to those people is 100% true. So they can either not believe it or not. 50% of the people are going to be for you and 50% are going to be against you. You hopefully have 51 on your side at the end of the day.
Okay. Let's take one more. Let's see. This is from Mr. Randy Wickens. He says, what we really want to know is why 4 council members voted to approve city manager separation with no discussion. Was Sunshine violated? Jeff Bailey wasn't allowed to speak and question the matter.
He absolutely was allowed to speak. It was more of an attack or a verbal attack. So agreement was put in front of us, signed by a party. It should have been a 5-0 vote. So you can ask the member that voted no why they voted no. It was an agreement that was signed. Again, I know for a fact that some of those people reached out to every single council member because they said they were going to, and there are people that I believe did do that. So that's on them.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take one more here. Didn't you review her show of? Well, okay, think they're talking about her job performance in the last review period. Did you review prior to? I think I've seen something circulating that you gave her a good performance review, right?
Yeah, it was okay. I believe 3 of the 5 boxes were checked. I believe it was standard. It was the 3rd box. I know that for a fact. There was 1 in the 4th box and 1 in the 5th box. So it was November. It was a year after her thing. Again, there were things that I disagreed with as a council member, policies and things just not going fast enough. Those didn't rise to the level where I thought that I needed to sit down and have a private conversation with the attorney there and say that I felt it was best that it went this way.
Okay. Let's see. Let's take one more here. Mr. Wickens, you have some good questions, and I'm not sure which one to take. Okay, let's go with this one. Things that happened over the last 18 months, like you were in a well, I don't know if you want to opine on this because it's still a legal issue. Do you want to opine on this?
I mean, it would be ill-advised to go on there and talk about anything, especially if you don't know about what you're talking about. So I would advise anybody that doesn't know what they're talking about and thinks they have a clue what they're talking about, but doesn't have the basis or the end game to say, oh, this is what happened. They have bits and pieces of a story and they're trying to tell you the whole thing, that they should probably refrain from doing that. I mean, stuff that's marked confidential, you're not supposed to read it. That's the way it works. But people choose to ignore that and make up their own stories, and that's fine. They can do that. They're entitled to do that. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you an ending of a story that doesn't have an ending yet.
Okay. So I guess what everybody's want to ask is, was any sunshine law broken during this whole debacle for us trying to get to this end point where Ms. Mayoral is no longer with us?
So again, I wouldn't call it a debacle at all. 4 council members agreed that a change needed to be made. It was made. We're going in a new direction. I don't talk to any of the other council members. I wouldn't talk to any of the other council members. There's a case right now in Sebastian where 2 council members just went to jail for sunshine violations. A lot of people said the same thing when Greg Link was let go, that there was absolutely 100% sunshine violations. But people don't want to talk about that now. So when it's your friend, they want to be like, oh, you absolutely had to do something. Mm-hmm. I think the people knew the situations that were going on. I think the council members did their job and knew that we needed to move forward in this direction, and we had little choice. And at the end of the day, if there is something that needs to be said or somebody takes legal action and I have to defend myself or council has to defend themselves, we're absolutely going to do that, I'm sure.
Okay. All right, great. So if there's no other questions, I just wanted to bring Mr. Brian Anderson on really fast so he can answer some quick questions about Ms. Mayoral issue, the road maintenance, and where we at with that, and the so we are here, and hopefully I know these questions will continue to percolate throughout the community for a while, and please reach out to your councilman. Ask them the appropriate questions. You have their emails. You can go on the city website and, to get the appropriate answers so that we can move forward. I thank you for everyone for joining me tonight. Don't forget tomorrow.
So, really quick, Kevin, just really quick to throw it out there. The COVID numbers, they're going up almost 100 a week here in the city of Palm Bay. We're at 537. We were just at 427. So please don't sleep on this thing. Do all the same stuff that you were doing before. If you don't have to be somewhere, not close contacts, just maintain your distance, wear the mask if you have them and you choose to, hand sanitizer, and just be respectful of others. Obviously, it's never a good thing when you're at 100+ people per week. So we really got to try to get back to where we were. It was almost 3 to 4 weeks a month into this thing before we had our first case here in the city. So saddening numbers, to say the least.
The numbers are going up. And I work in the medical field, and many of you probably don't know that. but I read these medical records every day, and because of HIPAA, I can't talk much, but I can just say it's bad. It's really bad. So we need to be very careful as a community and do your part and make sure you're wash your hands, and stay 6 feet apart and all that good stuff. Anyways, so thank you guys for joining me tonight. Join me tomorrow night. Tomorrow night I will be interviewing two attorneys that are running to be a part of the 18th Circuit. And so that's going to be tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. That interview will only last about half an hour. So make sure you join me live exactly at 8 o'clock for when that begins. And then the following night, I'll be interviewing Miss Wright. She's running for seat 2. And again, like I said before, next week, we have another slew of 3 interviews from Tuesday through Thursday. And then the next week, we're going to be having the debates for seat 2. So please stay tuned for a whirlwind of events that's happening in the month of July. So a lot of events and a lot of questions that I have to prepare. And you can help me out. You can send questions to kevin@palmbaylive.com or palmbaylive@gmail.com. You can use either email address to get in touch with me so you can help me prepare those questions. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. God bless. Okay.